try to sound sexy. Talking about
You got it
whisk.
backwards, bro.
Yeah, I know. Hang tight, guys. Getting things hooked up here. We're running a little late. Had to do like 60 down Old Seguin Road just to get over here in time. All right, there we are. So welcome to the Kirby City Council meeting. It's going to be a good one. They had a meeting on Saturday, and too complicated to explain. But in a nutshell, our queen, Madam Mayor Grider, kicked a councilman out of the retreat or team building or public meeting. Really wasn't sure what it was. But they made sure to have it on federal property, a military base. So that way, according to Grider, and you'll hear it out of her own words in future videos, you ain't gonna do that on here, on federal property. And then her homeboy from the golf shop, according to his own words, at the request of our police chief, called the MPs, who, by the way, one of the MPs is a former Kirby police officer. You see what's going on there? Can you connect the dots? Anyway, the video on that will come out soon. But tonight, the councilman that they kicked out for asking questions and getting into what was seemingly a formidable debate and question and back and forth, because everybody was doing it before he did that. They continued to do that after he left. But when he started saying things that they didn't like, the mayor put an end to that, kicked him out. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, while the mayor was allowing him to come back in, too late. The golf pro shop had the MPs coming over there to, quote, bar him from federal property. So anyway, there's a whole lot to be talked about, but they're going to be addressing this councilman's behavior tonight. They put that on the agenda that fast. So it's going to be interesting to see how all that goes. Because frankly, the only behavior that should be addressed is the behavior directed at him. But anyway, y'all will see that in the meeting tonight because they're going to be discussing it. Enjoy. I'll chop you.
Boy, I need something to wedge in here.
August 10th, 2023 starts at 7:08 p.m. Call this meeting to order. Please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Today's invocation will be by Pastor Corey Bowley.
Book of Romans, chapter 13, verse 1, be a good citizen. All governments are under God, insofar as there is peace and order is God's order. So live responsibly as a citizen. If you're irresponsible to the state, then you're irresponsible to God. And God will hold you responsible. Duly constituted authorities are only a threat if you're trying to get by with something. Decent citizens would have nothing to fear. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, most gracious Master, thank you for this day that you've allowed us to have. Gifted us with the gift of breath, the gift of life. Thank you for that. Lord, thank you for safe traveling grace. And Lord, thank you for this meeting. Thank you for the civic leaders, the government leaders, the politicians, Father, the leadership that you have given to this city. We ask you to continue to watch over their heart, continue to give them wisdom, insight, clarity of thought, dedication to the task that you've placed before them. Lord, let this city prosper under this leadership. So please, Master, have your way. Let them be able to get along with one another. Let the citizens continue to approve of the leadership. Thank you, God, that you are the approving authority of all. And so, Father, as we are gathered here tonight, let this actually be a blessing to you, that you see your work done through your leadership. Touch this place. As a matter of fact, Lord, let your presence be here tonight. In Jesus' name, the one I believe in, I do pray. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mission statement: the city of Kirby is dedicated to delivering excellent municipal services to our community in a fiscally responsible manner. City Secretary, please call roll.
Mayor Pro Tem Papadakis. Here. Councilmember Garza.
Here.
Councilmember Dick. Here. Councilmember Lozano.
Here.
Councilmember Martin.
Here.
Councilmember Molina.
Here.
Mayor Ryder.
Here.
We have a quorum.
We'll move to citizen participation. And can we make sure the cameras, when it's on, if you look at the view, it's on citizens, then it's on us. All right. First, we have Ed Bueno. Bujano. Okay, let's come on up, sir. Okay, sir.
Well, good afternoon, Mayor. Good afternoon, Pro Team, and good afternoon, council members. My name is Ed Bujano, and I reside at 320 Gage Lane. And like the movie, The Last House on the Left. Now, my concern is the landfill that we have in back of our house. We built our home in 1998. My mother-in-law lived next door to us for 60 years. And right now, I understand the city of Kirby is redoing the streets. And I understand why the dirt field's there, but I'd like for y'all to put it in y'all's future. What are we gonna do about that landfill?
Thank you. Next, we have Jack Miller.
Jack Miller, 4839 Big Gordon. The other day, Kirby police officers Alonzo and Lackey were chasing a man through the neighborhood over there by my area, and he had apparently was vandalizing a car or trying to break into it. Then he ran from the police, ran into somebody's garage. They grabbed a handgun, and before shooting him, convinced him to leave their garage. And then he grabbed some towels, threw them over his head in apparent attempts to disguise himself. grabs somebody's lawnmower, heads down the street with it. The police spot him again, he evades them again. About a block, or what would be the equivalent of 2 blocks. It's about 103 degrees that day. And when I rolled up with my cameras, Lackey and Alonso had him on the ground. For all I know, Lackey and Alonso, these could have been any of our new officers doing this type of stuff for $16 an hour. I don't think anybody up there on council would get out of bed for that much money. But we expect our officers to do this kind of job. Extremely dangerous, because this guy fought him. He fought him, then he got in the back of the patrol car and started destroying the inside of the patrol car. They had to pull him out again. So just consider that this is the type of, and we put a little video out, and we're going to put a full video out once we get all the details, but just to show everybody what our police officers do on a daily basis. Saturday, I got to witness some of the most horrendous activities on the part of our city officials that I've ever witnessed so far on this council. This is what I saw. I saw this retreat or gathering or team building exercise or open meeting, as it was represented to be, being conducted. And from the very get-go, it seemed to my pleasure that everybody was permitted to engage in questions, back and forth discussion, speech. Everybody was free to speak until somebody, Councilman Garza, who was kicked out, we all know that, until he began to ask questions that would, if you look at the video and you look at each one of your faces, you can see that his questions made you uncomfortable. So now he's engaging in speech that appears to make people uncomfortable. The city manager goes back and forth with him. Garza and the city manager were doing what they should have been allowed to do. As long as they're both speaking, they should have been allowed to continue. It takes 2 to argue, and I've heard an official tell me that Garza was arguing. But it takes 2 to argue. And you're not going to convince anybody that it doesn't take 2 to argue. So if they were arguing, or if there was an argument being had, it was at that time, between the city manager and Mr. Garza. And you should be allowed to argue in here and debate. I argue with y'all all the time. They don't try to kick me out. I bring up issues that make everybody feel uncomfortable. I do things that make everybody feel uncomfortable. And so far, my free speech rights are honored, as well as other folks in here. Mr. Shaw flew up the other day, even used a cuss word, and nobody said nothing to him. As it should be. It should be that way. But it should be that way for everybody. That day, one of the officials was told to leave the meeting for decorum violation. But I didn't, up until that point that decision was made, I didn't see that official do anything different than anybody else was doing, raising voice. And tonight we're going to talk about his behavior, raising his voice. City manager was doing that for 20 minutes prior to him asking a question. And that's okay. I'm not saying it's not. As a leader, you have to talk firm. Much like I'm doing right now. I don't have to talk this loud, but this is how I am. Some of us can't help it. We've been raised and it's instilled in us either through military service or through public service, or we learned it in classes. He should have not been kicked out. And just so you know, I talked to the golf pro who thought I was completely on y'all's side and 1,000% against Garza. He talked to me for 45 minutes. So I know your relationships. Never, ever, ever have a city council meeting or any public meeting for Kirby on federal property. Don't do that. I'm going to be putting out a video exposing the truth. If you have done something you shouldn't have been doing, you need to own up to it and put it out in the open now. I'm going to. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Next, we have Patrick.
Evening, Mayor and Council, City Manager, City Secretary, Patrick White, 4839 Day 1. I'm gonna address the council as a whole, and there's a few that I'm gonna address individually. Council as a whole, when y'all all got elected, I came up here and I made a statement. Y'all all preach that unity bullshit, and we're not doing it. We're not. We're sitting here, we're doing our bidding for other people who aren't sitting here, and we're trying to nitpick and trying to jerk off certain council members because we don't like them. Y'all aren't up there for yourselves or for your friends. You're up there for the city. Y'all all have social media just like I do and everybody sitting out here. Everybody's pissed off about their water bill. What are y'all doing to address that? We were running for council, Ms. Lasagna, and you were up here bitching about dogs. What have you done about that or brought to the table about that? Mr. Molina, you were bitching about the warehouses over there and all the streets. What have you brought to the table to try to bring a resolution to that? Ms. Hitt, you've been up there and ain't said shit about shit.
Patrick.
Excuse me, lady, but I'm a little upset.
Okay,
Because I saw,
Fourth time for cursing now, the fourth. Okay, please.
That's her email. Shit.
I'm a little upset. And that is her email, by the way. Shit. S-H-I-T-T. That's her email.
No, it's S-J-H-I-T.
Oh, yeah, changed it now.
We did.
Okay, well, it was. Now, I'm glad you said something, 'cause I almost forgot about you.
Yes, sir.
You're very long-winded.
Yes, sir.
You can talk for 45 minutes. Matter of fact, I was telling Mr. Miller that day, I don't know who can talk longer, him or you. And all you do is repeat yourself. And all you do is say nothing. And then everything has to be done in executive session, or we'll talk about it later. Why can't you discuss this stuff in front of the citizens? These are the people, these are the reason why y'all are up there. And y'all are all forgetting it. Because we're doing our own personal shit up there. Excuse my language, I'm sorry, I'm just in the heat of the moment. I apologize, that one did slip out. But we need to refocus ourselves on the city and the citizens. Because every one of them have problems that need resolved. And it's up to y'all to fix them. But no, we're up here saying, oh, well, I don't like him, so what can I do to screw him over? No, it don't work that way. Saturday, that between them, that they both should have been reprimanded for that. Not just Mr. Garza, because like Jack Miller said, it takes two to argue. And Ms. Lasagna was just involved in it as much as he was. And that's all I gotta say.
Thank you. Moving on to consideration of an action on minutes 6A, regular.
There's a letter, in the street. You want to read it into the record, or you want
She can
the
read it.
secretary to read it?
Citizen participation, Susan Street, 522 Coral Mist. I would like to address the apparent lack of consideration for the majority of this council to engage in informative decisions on a variety of issues brought before said council. When a different set of information is presented, it is discounted and ignored. Most members do not ever speak to either support or not support an issue. This leads me to wonder what actual thinking or considering of issue is taking place. Without singling anyone out, I support those who do have facts, numbers, and documentation to support their discussion. Please stop holding those with a different view of the situation. Secondly, it is difficult for citizens to be informed when no documents are included with the agenda. This was voted on and passed in 2021 by council, and I have notified the city manager via email. And at previous council meetings, it was informed. If you are not transparent, please do it. I think the citizen of the has been invited.
Sorry, guys, technical difficulties.
6A, regular minutes, July 13, 2023.
Okay, during citizen participation, if Mr. Jack Miller dash, just wanted to make sure that we're all aware of that before we decide to approve these minutes.
Madam Mayor, I did not get the full copy of those minutes. I only have one page. I don't know if mine was missing it, I put it on the internet, and I couldn't find it. Did everybody else get the full document? I mean, if I just got the first page where it goes to roll call on July 13th.
Are we speaking of July 13th or July 27th?
13th, July 13th.
Okay, you're absolutely right, on the first page, July 13th. I was talking about July 27th, I apologize.
You got 30 years. Okay, well then, so everybody has a chance to review, we'll just, come back to that, next, meeting. All right, now, consideration of an action on minutes for regular minute, July 27th. Councilman Garza, you were saying about that one?
Yes, ma'am, I was saying that if you look at these minutes on citizens' participation, it just says Jack Miller and a dash. It does not state what he talked about, or if he did talk, or anything of that nature. Just want to make sure that we understand that before we accept the minute.
Okay, we can bring that one back also to add some, context to what was discussed. All right. All right, moving on to 7A, discussion and possible action, discussion and update on Republic Services contract and trash pickup process for the city of Kirby.
Council members, just want to go over the Republic Trash Service, which is our trash contractor for the city of Kirby. As we talked about in the retreat, they're going to be doing a short presentation or kind of fielding some questions. In your packet is the contract. Majority of you were not on council when the contract was approved. And so I just wanted to give y'all the update so you all could look through that and be prepared to meet Mr. Tom, who is the contact for Republic Service.
Mr. Mayor and Council, for those that don't know me, I'm Tom Armstrong. I'm the Municipal Sales Manager for Republic Services here in San Antonio. I know several of you, Mayor Grider, Garza, Martin, but to those of you, Ms. Akadaka, those of you that don't know me, I've been in the industry for 16 years. I've been in this position for 8 years, and I've handled the city of Kirby for about 6 years now. So very familiar with all the processes that are in place. Got a call from Dr. Rolla last week, and he and I spoke a little bit. He expressed to me some of the issues that they're having with city staff, with some calls that are coming in. I committed to him that me and my team, our operations supervisors, as well as our clerical staff, our municipal coordinator, and our dispatchers will work closely with him. I'm going to give city manager and staff kind of a flow chart of who you contact for whatever issue that arises. If someone calls in and has a broken part, the wheel's off, here's who you contact. And I'll give them email addresses as well as cell phone numbers, so they'll always be able to contact whoever they're needed. As far as the contract itself, you do have a copy in your binder. If you'd like, I can kind of go through the high points of the services that are offered in the contract. Most of it is the same as it was in the previous contract. One of the biggest changes is on the last contract, we provided the city with one bulk and brush collection event per year. And with the new contract, we increased that to 2 events per year. So bulk and brush programs, 2 a year, 1 in the spring, 1 in the fall. We've already done the spring one. The fall one, I need to double check with either the last week of September or one of the first weeks in October. Household hazardous waste collection event that will remain 1 time a year. I believe we do that at Friendship Park. Nothing will change on that. We accept tires, oil, antifreeze, batteries, insecticides, paint, household chemicals, things along those lines that you don't want to get rid of in your regular household trash. The other thing I spoke with about the city manager is that I'm gonna get him and his staff some educational pieces so that you have information on hand for brush and bulk event. What's acceptable to put out of those events, what isn't acceptable. Curbside recycling, what can you recycle, what do you need to not put in recycling. One thing I preach every time that I'm here, bag your trash, don't bag your recycling. Plastic bags, especially HEB bags, are just the devil when it comes to our recycling center. They get wrapped up in our conveyor belts and they shut down the whole line. So, anyway, a lot of pieces. Holiday schedules, you know, Independence Day, are we running, are we not running? Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving. Real quick answer, we don't run on Christmas, New Year's, and Thanksgiving, and that's all. So the one that always affects City of Kirby is Thanksgiving, because trash day is Thursday, Thanksgiving is always on a Thursday, so we're always gonna have to move some things around to make sure that we get everyone's trash on that day. Normally, we push it one day, but there's sometimes where some other conflicting events make us need to do some other things. But customer education is going to be a big piece going forward, both with the residents and with city staff, a lot of whom are also new in their positions. City Manager Rowland comes from a community that also used Republic Services, so he's familiar with us and our services, and I'll be working closely with him and his staff. Recycle, real quick, off the top of my head, aluminum, tin cans, water bottles, soda bottles, HDPE plastic, which is like milk jugs and Tide bottles, number 5 plastics, which are yogurt containers, also known as polypropylene, mixed paper, newspaper, OCC, which is cardboard, magazines. Nothing has changed on what's acceptable and not acceptable. Glass always comes to me as a question of whether it's acceptable or not. We do not accept glass here in San Antonio. And for those of you that don't know, yes, glass is a recyclable commodity. However, we don't have a facility in San Antonio that recycles glass, which means if we're going to recycle it, we have to load up an 18-wheeler and ship it somewhere where they do recycle it. Closest one's in Fort Worth. By the time we do that, we've countered any benefit that we do by recycling glass, by burning diesel fuel all the way up to Fort Worth. If someone opens a facility in the area where they recycle glass, you have my commitment that I will add that to the product list just as soon as they're up and running. Trash rates, $17.71 is for one time a week trash service with one cart, and every other week recycle, which also comes with one cart provided by Republic Services. If that's not enough capacity for you, you can get an additional trash carts or recycle carts for $7.62 a piece. And then also available is if you have bulk and brush that you need to get rid of, if you can't wait for the next collection event, we have an out-of-cycle rate of $31 a yard, which you call us up, so we schedule the time when we come and pick up your mattress or whatever it is that you have. That's everything that I jotted down. Is there any questions I can answer about the program?
When will the brush and bulk event be for the fall?
It's either, yeah, I can't remember. It's either the last week of September or it's the first week of October. I can check the calendar when I'm in my office in the morning, and I'll shoot that over to Dr. Rowland's staff so that we all know that. But it is already booked and on the calendar and good to go.
Okay. Dr. Rowland?
Council, we're in in our conversations that when we met, we're gonna be putting out a calendar for the month. Will come out in September, and it'll have like all the dates and reference to when trash, when recycled, and when that date of the bulk pickup, for the next seven months coming up. So it'll be from September to the end of the year, and we're working with them to put together a calendar, a one-pager, yeah, that everybody will be able to see it again on our website.
And the one that's kind of tricky is the recycle, because it is every other week, and it can be confusing about whether it's the on week or the off week, so we're gonna put out some pieces, and we're gonna try to get a good rate on some, like refrigerator magnets that residents can slap on their refrigerator and refer to see what the on week and the off week is. My wife laughs at me that I can't remember that, but I also barely remembered yesterday, so.
I have a question.
Okay.
During your bulk and brush pickup, what is the process as far as the trucks coming by and picking up bulk and brush? Because I did have some residents bring up the issue that the bulk was picked up, but then the brush stayed there. And even though, let's say we were scheduled for Monday to do brush and bulk, the bulk again was picked up, and then it wasn't until a few days later or the following week, the brush was still there, and then they finally came and picked it up.
So-
What is the process?
Well, the
They get
process,
picked up?
we have one truck, and we pick both bulk and brush up in the grappler truck. So it's got like an open top box on the back of it, and a grappler claw that grabs it, and we don't separate the bulk and the brush till it gets to the landfill. So I'm not sure what happened in that event. If we had maybe some capacity issues and they wanted to get all the bulk and then come back for the brush, could be, but I need to check with our operations supervisors to find out exactly what happened, because it doesn't make a lot of sense why we would do that, because we don't have one truck for bulk and one truck for brush. It's all going in the same truck, so that's strange that happened.
Okay, and then the other thing is, because I did notice, like, down my street, on the cul-de-sac, on my side of the street, they picked up, again, the bulk, and then on the other side of the street, which is still on the south section of Benzingelman, they did not pick up in that area. So it was like, I wasn't sure if they came back a few days later, but it wasn't done on that same, when they did the pickup for section 1.
Yeah, again, it's kind of the same thing. I'm kind of perplexed as to why that would happen. But as far as when we get to a certain section, what we will do is we will work with city staff before the event begins. Our supervisors will come in and we break off the city in quadrants. And week 1, we're going to do this part of the city, and week 2, we're going to do this part of the city. And then each day when we complete, the driver should be coming into City Hall with highlighted for the different streets, and this is what we completed today. Our goal for tomorrow is to do these streets as well. So city should always be in the loop of where we are we behind, are we ahead of schedule, just so that everybody knows in case some calls come into City Hall.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir, the last time you were speaking of an app, and you were saying that you might have something coming out. I was wondering what the timeline is on something like that.
Yeah, I don't have a great update for you, other than I know it's still in the beta stage. They're still testing it in some pilot markets. I don't have a date of when they plan to roll that out, but that is still very much on my radar, because that's not just going to help City of Kirby, that's going to help all of my customers in this market. And for those of you who don't know, we're working on an app that residents could have on their phone, where you can access anything to do with trash and recycling. If you feel like your trash was missed for a day, you can report it on the app. If you have a broken cart, you can report it on the app, and then you don't have to call City Hall and take up those folks' time. So I'm really looking forward to this being rolled out, because it's not only gonna help me, but it's gonna help city staff a lot too, because fewer calls will be coming in. There's always gonna be people that prefer picking up the phone and call, and that will continue to be the case, but it should cut down on the number of calls coming in significantly.
I think I heard you last time also, like on recycle, I know you said right now again that you put out a list of what's acceptable and not. And one thing that I thought I remember last time that I was the audience then, is that pizza boxes, that you don't like those because they really contaminate everything more, you know, it doesn't.
So the bad part of the pizza box is the bottom of it, where it's soaked with the grease. So for the most part, you don't want to recycle a pizza box because it's contaminated. We can't recycle cardboard that's soaked in grease. However, if you're really wanting to be a great citizen and recycle what you can, rip that part off, the part that's soaked in grease, throw that in the trash, and the rest of the cardboard's completely recyclable. You can throw that in the recycle bin. So that's kind of some above and beyond stuff right there. But I do it because I'm kind of OCD, so it's worth doing.
Yeah, I thought that's what I remember.
Yep, you're right. You're right.
So are you gonna put out a list that way they know that no glass?
Certainly will. Mhm.
That would be, thank you.
Yeah, and I was telling city manager today, the question that I get more than all of the rest of the questions combined is glass, and whether it's recyclable. And what happens is people move to Kirby from other parts of the country, and wherever they lived before, they were able to recycle glass, and they don't understand why they can't here. And they think we're just being strict and saying we can't recycle glass. It doesn't make sense for us to recycle glass because of the cost involved in transporting it, and we're really not helping to sustain the planet by shipping glass by trucking it up 35 and diesel-powered trucks. So, anyway, thank you.
Anyone else? Mayor Pro Tem Abbott?
So what special arrangements are going to be made for the Ackerman Road? I mean, I don't know what part they'll be working on when you guys come out, but just, I guess you really need to let the residents know along that section.
Yeah, that kind of got a little gnarly when police chief was acting city manager, and we had some residents that weren't sure what to do. The thing is when those concrete barricades are up, our truck cannot get to the curb. So what needs to be done is they need to be placed in a place outside of the barriers where we can get them. Now, I'll work with Danielle, who's our residential operations supervisor. I don't personally know where they are in that project, and are they working on a part that is in front of residential houses now? Is it affecting service, is what I'm asking?
No.
Okay.
So it was a communication issue. We just met with the contractor, we just met with Public Works, we just met with the engineer. And so they had been, because it's only on Thursdays, they had been letting the trucks through. And so the next part of the project, we're going to do 7 houses. We're gonna actually block off the road. And you all be getting an update on kind of that project, but specifically with the trash, with trash that's gonna be the next phase of the project. So it's gonna be 14 homes that are gonna be impacted, but 7 homes are currently putting their trash out. They move it to the corner, they let the trucks in. And so there's no impact, there's no change of service to the citizens who live in that area. But it's been through communication, so at the beginning it was a little rocky, but it's gotten better as of today.
Great, yeah. And it's just communication, We just need to be informed of when the crew is getting to a section where there's residential houses, and we have a good process in place to access the trash when it does happen. I just want to be able to let my supervisors and drivers know so that they know to look for those cans off to the side.
All right, thank
That
you.
it?
Yes,
Thank you guys. Have a good evening.
Moving on to 7B, discussion and possible action on San Antonio rugby contract for use of Friendship Park or Lens Park. So myself and Dr. Rowland and the rugby board went out Monday to meet at Friendship Park to actually see the vision on the ground. The contract in this discussion is going to be halted for now until a later date. We're not going to say what date it is. All parties, mainly the city, we need to evaluate some maintenance issues that we found out there before anyone, any sport, goes on any of those fields. And we'll probably discuss that around budget time also about Parks and Rec, because there's some things out there that myself, the city manager, and the rugby, we saw that made us feel a little uneasy about doing any type of contracts moving forward. So the negotiation and the contract is tabled for now for a later date for rugby, so it's off the table. Okay. 7C, discussion, update, and possible action related to early voting and election day location for Bear County and City of Kirby. Dr. Rowland?
So again, council members, there's an election coming up in November. The interim city secretary has been working with Bear County to make sure the city of Kirby has a voting location for early voting and election day. It'll be here in this room. And so this is for informational purposes, that they're gonna have early voting starting in October here at City Hall, and then on election day, it'll be here as well. That's it.
Okay. All right, moving on to 7D, discussion and feedback on City of Kirby leadership retreat. I'll start. So the Board of Adjusters, so there was a lot of information given at the retreat. There was a lot of information about, we went deep into different departments. Well, actually on Friday night, the first night, that was more of like team building. What do you kind of see your vision of the city of Kirby and stuff like that? And also to learn a little bit about each other during that process. So we did some team building and that sort of stuff, and then we had dinner, and then we participated in some exercises. And on Saturday, though, there was a lot of information thrown out. I think that everybody by the end of that day was like, whoa. And even that whole day from 9 to 5, that was not even enough, to be honest. There's so much information that was given with that. So, this will not be the last retreat, so we'll probably have another retreat, probably not in December. We'll probably have one June or July of 2024. I do believe organizational health is important. Many organizations from military to school boards to corporate offices to even small businesses, they take their staff and they do a retreat. Also, it's just not about so building trust and team building, but on top of that, you get to really deep dive, and it's supposed to be more an intimate setting, right? That's what a retreat really is for. But again, so I had no idea about the Board of Adjusters. That was interesting with that piece. I had no clue about that. Learned a lot about the planning and zoning. Again, it was I enjoyed the retreat, and I think that there was a couple of things that we still missed, so I guess we'll have to have another one for that more information. But otherwise, I think it was really good. Anyone else? Councilmember Garza.
All right. Basically, man, okay, so there's a lot going on with this idea of this retreat. First off, I just wanted to say that I don't know exactly what meeting this fell under. I looked it up in the ordinances, which meetings we're allowed to have, right? And let me read this to you. I mean, there's a regular meeting, okay, which is what we're having, right? There's a special meeting, there's a workshop meeting, and there's a public meeting, which is an executive session, and your public meeting, on your regular meeting. So I'm assuming that this actually falls under the workshop meeting, right? Okay. So let me read to you guys what the workshop meetings entail. When you have a workshop meeting, it says here that workshop meetings may be called upon written request by the mayor and council members. The purpose of workshop meetings is to give the city council the opportunity to discuss in-depth or explore detailed subjects of interest to the city. It states that no action item shall be placed in the agenda of the workshop meeting. And it says, except in unusual circumstances, which shall be stated in the meeting agenda, workshop meetings will be held at City Hall. So, the first thing about this retreat, specifically on Saturday, as it was held on federal property, I can't imagine that there was an unusual circumstance. Our AC's not busted. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having it here. Not to mention, this retreat was kind of pushed out, I think, to citizens in an idea that it was not an open meeting. I feel that a lot of people believed it was a private meeting for the city council, and I don't think that that was cool of us to be doing that, especially like I'm sitting on federal property. But I will say this. Basically, this next agenda item, right, it basically, in my opinion, should be fruit of the poisonous tree, as this meeting was unlawful. And if they truly were meetings, then they violated the Open Meetings Act, which is 551021, because they weren't being recorded. So there was a lack of recording of these meetings. And I don't see any minutes, so I know that that's not happening either. Or on YouTube, I don't see anything there either. I honestly didn't believe that this retreat was something that we should be spending our money or time on. If we did want to have a workshop, I think it would have been cool of us to have it here at City Hall. We could have had some discussion. We could have allowed ourselves to be filmed and you know, really gotten to the nitty-gritty if that's what we really wanted to do. But I really feel that, that the way that this thing turned out, it was unbeneficial to our citizens and definitely unbeneficial to me. So that's what I'd like to say. Thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Councilor Martin.
This retreat was good to everyone. We learned a lot. I think we learned where we can make a lot of improvements here. But I think it's a good start. We want to try to make things better for the citizens, the city, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make things better and go move this thing forward. I've never been to one before, so I can't say if it was a success or a failure, but it's a start, and I think it's a great deal. And I think we need to make it happen. So.
Councilmember Molina?
Well, I have been to what's called a partnering session in the private sector, which we did do with SAW several times. And it brings in all the players and everybody to come together to try to discuss, you know, your strengths and, you know, where you need help also to, for lack of a better word, I didn't want to say weakness, but where you would need help and stuff. I think what we were trying to, or what I saw that wanted to be held here is that actually come together, try to get to know one another, try to get to know the city employees, the directors that are out there. And they did come and talk to us, and I think even one of the residents said that this would be a good time to get together and try to know each other, which it should be, you know, not to try to bash anybody, but to try to know and try to grow for our city, for our residents. That way we get, not that anything was going to be accomplished, it's like we're going to go and move on with it. but to see where we need to go to try to get something for our residents. So in my opinion, I think Mr. Martin saying that it's a good start. I think it's something that we should try to continue in the process that we should to try to build a relationship for our community. Thank you.
Dr. Rowland?
Thank you, council members, community citizens, for the opportunity to host this city council leadership retreat, which was a workshop, which was open to the public. The goal, Friday night, we did have our meeting here. We held it here at City Hall. That was an opportunity for us to have some team building. A couple things we went over in that meeting was the purpose was to enable Kirby City Council members to work together to identify a collective vision for the city, short-term priorities to achieve the vision, along with roles and operating guidelines that will enhance effectiveness amongst council members, staff, and mayor. We went through, there's about 7 goals that we set up in reference to what we were trying to do, both short-term and long-term. Each council member and the citizens who came had an opportunity to participate in what we call a SWOT analysis. That is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so that was Friday evening's activities. And so we also had an opportunity to have dinner together. The goal was level setting. This city council is not city council prior to May. So it was an opportunity to ground ourselves in how we're going to work forward with the new administration, new staff, new city council, and how we were going to communicate to our citizens better. On Saturday was a fun-filled day of activities where we had, necessarily Saturday was a level setting. You had several new city council members who just come on city council. You had council members who had been there. But there was no level setting in reference to the departments that we went through, in reference to legals, in reference to staff introductions, goals, debriefs, utilities and courts, police department, animal control, code enforcement, via bus service, Kirby Senior Center, economic development, fire department, and update with the attorney. We talked about engineering and plans. And so we had in one day we fit all these things in for about an 8-9 hour period. Having the introduction of what staff is doing in those areas, trying to identify the priorities in which city council was going to come up with for this year moving forward. You can't do it all in one day, but it was a fresh start, an opportunity for just those council members to get oriented into what's currently going on in the city. And so that's what it was. We were going to have several additional meetings. We talked about building a sustainable city and being ground zero. We have a SWOT analysis where you're going to get a copy of what everybody put on a sticky note, and we're going to continue to work through prioritizing some of the projects similar to the projects that's going to be in the budget. Again, you all know what we went over. I definitely would love the feedback you gave. If there's anything in writing you want to give, in addition to the city secretary is keeping minutes as we continue to move forward. So the goal the next time we meet is actually prioritizing parks and planning and zoning and building and standards and board of adjustments, all those things. We didn't take any action in that meeting. It was all discussion. But we wanted to be a seamless discussion between city council together, working together for a common goal. Again, council members, thank y'all for participating. Thank y'all for the energy you brought, and the citizens who came. We thank you for your input as well.
Well, my thoughts on the retreat. My understanding from the get-go was that it was for not only team building, but also for the new city council members to get to know the workflow processes of every department, as Dr. Rowland said. On Friday, we were given the opportunity to kind of get to know each other, you know, how long we lived here, what our strengths were. And also, we participated, or we were given the choice to participate in a team building activity, which was, of course, done in order to try to bring the council together as a team to work together, again, for the benefit of the city. On Saturday, again, we went over the workflow processes, but at some point, it did stall. The meeting did stall. And I'd like to apologize for raising my voice that day if, as Mr. White said, you know, I came across argumentative. But I was addressing my concerns with the city manager or the chair. I was not addressing my concerns with the particular individual. And so that for me is just to maintain decorum, because I think as city council members, we should be respectful, professional, and allow people to speak without feeling that they can't. And it goes both ways, you know. So I really enjoyed the retreat. I just also want for the future, as Mr. Gardner said, clarification, whether it's a workshop, whether it's an open meeting, a regular meeting, can our public attend or not attend, or participate or not participate. That was very vague, and so if that could be addressed or clarified if we were to continue with these types of meetings. Thank you.
Before we let our citizens speak, I just want to put on the record that our city attorney, the law firm knew exactly where we were having the meeting. It was no secret. It was discussed ahead of time that we were going to have the meeting. The reason why it has to be posted is because if there's 4 more, that means there's a quorum. So it has to be posted. It has been explained before what a retreat is. Most people know what organizational health is, and if you're not aware of that, what a retreat and that entails, and we explained that was about prior to going, the last council meeting about, you know, is getting together to know each other. That's what that is about. Since our meetings have to be posted, so the difference is, this is council, right? This is a different position. If we were in a corporate office, or we were a small business, or, I don't know, we were a branch of the military or something, and they were having a function like that, obviously the public would not be there. You wouldn't even know, right? You would have no idea that they're having that within their ranks, within the office. But because this is, again, 4 or more, and we're elected officials, we have to post it. So that's why it was posted. As far as the recording, we had already spoken with our city attorney, again, about that, and we were told that we did not have to film.
You were missing.
So that was another thing that we were told by our city attorney. So I just wanted to clarify to make sure that everybody's getting the facts, that we did do our due diligence and did checks and balances and make sure that we could be there. And then also, I keep hearing the topic about federal installation. Yes, so the Fort Sam Houston Golf Course is basically federal property, but you do not have to have an ID card to get on there. It's open. I've been there for weddings, whatever, you know, anything they have there. Any of you can go there and pay your money, and you can have a room, have a wedding, get stuff catered. You do not have to be a DOD member or anything to go to the Fort Sam Houston Golf Club. They do a lot of stuff for charity and whatnot, whatever. Anyways, but that's one thing. I keep hearing a federal installation that's being brought up. And again, our city attorney is aware of all of this information. Mr. Miller, did you want to speak now?
Yes. As Mr. Miller comes to the stage, comes to the podium, there was a question last meeting in reference to the cost. We held our retreat for less than $1,300 for both days, just so you all have a point of reference, less than $1,300.
Mike's not on.
Jack Miller, 4839 Big Gordon. Talking on this agenda item, I think it says discussion and feedback. So I'm going to give a little feedback on the retreat. I think that's what it says. So I'm assuming that somebody was in charge of developing the infrastructure for this meeting, i.e. guidelines, rules, how it's going to go, activities, so on and so forth. And I don't know exactly who that was. But there's two people in charge really above everybody else here, and that would be the mayor at a council meeting. The city manager certainly is in charge of a lot of things. I don't know really who was in charge at this retreat, and I believe that that was one of the things that lended to the situations that we saw that we didn't like. Nobody really, to me, seemed to be in charge. Seemed to be several people in charge. And so, in the future, if we're going to have any kind of meeting, let alone a team building type situation, even those, there needs to be somebody in charge. And that person, the onus is on them to ensure that guidelines and infrastructure are put in place to prevent things from getting out of control. In the sense that if I see somebody else speaking frankly, I'm going to want to speak frankly. Because I'm going to believe I should be allowed to. But if you're speaking frankly about lemonade and flowers and butterflies, and everybody's cool with that, and I get up and I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about things you don't want to talk about. Because there's really no infrastructure that says we really shouldn't be talking about all that stuff to begin with. Now you gotta listen to me, now we got conflict, so that just drives home the importance of having infrastructure and rules and guidelines. In that situation, what I saw was officials having to bring up and remind that this is why we're here. Can we just do this? Because I think you guys talked about how it should go, but it really wasn't how. That really wasn't what was happening. And then a situation happened, and thank you, Ms. Lozano, for apologizing for your shortcoming in that situation. That really goes a long way. But it's okay, even in team building in this retreat, it's okay to talk loudly, raise your voice. You can be upset if conversations are being allowed to have, go back and forth, debates. So we have to have infrastructure at our meetings, all of them, no matter what they are. We have to have infrastructure, we have to have rules and guidelines that everybody clearly understands. Somebody has to be in charge, not two people. One person has to be in charge with the authority to make decisions. In this retreat, I didn't see speech that's protected really being respected, or rather there was a point in time where it was not respected. So we need to ensure at our retreats that that doesn't happen again. So if everybody's following the infrastructure and following the rules, which I would hope that all you would do, if somebody says some speech, we have to remember what's protected and make sure that we all stand to protect that speech, even if it's unpopular. In fact, that's what the First Amendment was made for, to protect unpopular speech. We need to not have our retreats or any other meetings, but retreats, since this is the agenda item, on any property where Texas laws do not apply. I would question anybody's authority to enforce any open meetings laws on federal property. Who's going to enforce them? The police chief can't. She can carry a gun onto that property. She's allowed to by their law. But also in that law it spells out clearly, she has no law enforcement authority. And if our police officer doesn't have law enforcement authority there, I wouldn't imagine that the city manager or the mayor would have authority in their official position. So we just please avoid future retreats at federal property. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I can say something real quick.
We have a citizen, hold on. We have a citizen who wants to speak. Is everybody okay with that?
Do we have to make a motion?
No, we don't. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Mazzano, thank you for the apology. It does go a long way. It does show maturity in a situation that was uncomfortable for a lot of people. Madam Mayor, again, your information comes from the Fox Garden Hen House. When you do have meetings, whether it's called a retreat, which was a good salesman way of calling it something. Salesman like to do it. However, there has to be a recording, whether it's audio, video, some type of minutes kept when you have a forum. It is discussing city infrastructure, business, so on, etc. So because it was posted as a meeting and possibly a quorum, yes, there should have been records kept as far as minutes, audio, video recordings. So that's all I have to say. Again, Mr. Mazzano, thank you. And y'all need to be careful with the Fox Garden Hen House.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, discussion and possible action, 7E. Discussion and possible action on Christopher L. Garza's behavior at Sports Game Houston Golf Course, Council Retreat, August 5th, 2023. So I'm going to read a statement. I would like to first apologize to the Fort St. Houston Golf Course for the excusable behavior Saturday of Council Member Christopher L. Garza. He was asked to leave the meeting after disruptive and combative behavior, and I proceeded to go outside to ask Councilmember Garza if he would like to come back inside. He said no, and I was going to turn to come back inside the door. He proceeded to put his foot in front of the door and block me from entering the door. Chief Cardona told him not to do that and let me in. The Fort St. Houston Golf Course manager said the same thing. Then finally, the Councilmember Garza moved his foot. I went inside. The Fort St. Houston Golf manager called the military police on Councilmember Garza. After witnessing and hearing behavior profanity, I apologize on multiple occasions to the staff. And again, I am truly sorry to the staff of that day and the golfers and everybody who heard everything. Again, the city of Kirby would like to thank them for the hospitality, and the behavior displayed does not represent the city of Kirby. And that's my statement.
Mayor, I've got a question. We've always been told, anything you want to put on the agenda, have you put on Thursday prior to the agenda. So the attorneys can look at it or whatever. This happened Saturday, and it goes on the agenda for Monday. Is that legal? Is that okay?
The agenda goes out on Monday.
Right, but it has to be approved by y'all on Friday, right?
For legality, I mean, right.
And this, what I'm saying is, I was told that we had to wait for the following meeting before it gets put on there. I'm just questioning, I know what happened, but why this got closed up to this meeting, instead of having to wait.
So where's that leak? So legally it says that we have to
I'm
wait?
asking, you know,
Oh, okay,
that's
I
just
was
what,
confused, okay.
that's just what I've always been told. You gotta get it in there, if you want an agenda, it's gotta get in there before Thursday.
Right.
If it don't, it goes to the next meeting. You know, it gets put on the next agenda. I'm just asking you, does this happen after Thursday, how this got placed here?
I placed it on the agenda.
That's just what I wanted to know.
Yes. And then we have on Mondays, before our agenda goes out, our city attorney, they review the agenda on Mondays.
thought you did it on Fridays, but I was, thought something every day, okay?
I just review for legality and make sure things I've reviewed,
Y'all
and
get ready.
just for legality.
Well, just
Get
like I
kicked
was
out.
questioning before about the dates on here,
Right.
you know?
Understood. Anyone else?
I'm gonna be speaking. Oh,
Hold
yeah,
on.
stand up.
Councilmember Gardner.
I also wrote a statement. I'd like to read it. All right. Just so we're clear, I don't have to sit up here and explain myself to you, because I don't answer to you. And I know you guys are going to do whatever you want to do because you have the majority vote. But understand, I only answer to the people, which has been proven by me being the only one concerned that they may not be fully informed by these meetings. And yes, they were meetings. As stated clearly by the mayor and by the taking of votes to, if nothing else, kick me out. I was the only one doing my due diligence to ensure that the people had a video recording of this meeting, as it was for some reason taken to an off-site location on federal property, which was conveniently relayed to me by our mayor as would seem like intimidation. If this council truly wants to discuss misconduct, it should be targeted toward those who were okay dispelling and receiving misinformation. Those that didn't want people to question that misinformation when they themselves took the opportunity to ask questions. Those that were trying to remove cameras so the public would not be informed. Those that did what they could to kick out council and intimidate residents. And those that threaten with police as if they are your own personal security. All of you, minus Councilman Martin, should be answering to misconduct. But, you won't vote for that, will you? So just to be clear, whatever action you take will not stop me from voting. It won't stop me from speaking out. It won't stop me from running. And won't stop me from living here. So whatever empty punishment you have for me, bring it. Because whatever inspired you to run as a group has you in the mindset of groupthink. And I find it really difficult to respect anyone who just accepts information without question or can't see misinformation when things don't add up and refuse to speak up. Back and forth communication was permitted before it was kicked out. And so my impression is the subject matter must have struck a chord. I did nothing wrong in questioning information that our city manager was dispelling as fact to further understand why I had not been informed or the cause of the misinformation. The only travesty in all this was it was collusion of council to not do the right thing, but rather to engage in that group thing. Save Kirby with your vote, right? Unfortunately, this will all continue until those on this council make the decision to break away and create their own identity. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of faith in that. But I will say, I have never agreed with anyone on council 100% of the time, no matter if it was Councilman Martin or even when it was Councilwoman Street. But then again, I am an independent thinker who questions motive and purpose and don't care who it is dispelling the information or what position they hold. I'm not up here to make friends.
Just wait, it's me
I'm up
next.
here to represent the faction of Kirby residents that got tired of the status quo and the mentality that they should be overlooked when voicing their concerns of fixing the infrastructure of this town, including their roads, before trying to take on some projects to give yourself some kind of notoriety or title or have something named after you. I may not be the first of Kirby to do anything, but I did stand up to injustices, and I have made every decision with the residents in mind. Kirby community is my primary motive and purpose, and I will continue to answer to them, not you. Thank you.
Thank you. Gentlemen, would you like to speak?
Yes, ma'am.
You can step up.
Jack, no. I'm sorry. That wasn't my mistake. That wasn't my mistake.
Jack Miller, 4839 Dick Gordon. We're talking about, what are we talking about? Let me just look at the agenda here. We're discussing Christopher Garza's behavior at the Fort Sam Houston Golf Course Council Member Street, August 5th, last Saturday. First, thank you, council, for letting me speak. Highway! Yeah, that's what the German soldiers used to, that's how they used to greet Hitler. A tyrant. And a tyrant is somebody who does a lot of things. And I'm not by any way implying that our mayor does any of those things. But there is one thing that a tyrant does, and that is step on constitutional rights. And in this situation with Christopher Garza, he was in the exercisement of his First Amendment right to free speech. He was engaged in free speech with our city manager, and our city manager was engaged in free speech with Christopher Garza. Both of them raised their voices, talked in a loud manner. In fact, Mayor, you didn't whisper to Susan Street when you warned her that she was going to get kicked out for mentioning, are you kidding me? Again, free speech. And why any of you think it's okay to remove somebody from a meeting because they raise their voice, say something that you don't like, make an accusation that is not true, say something like, are you kidding me? Eyes beyond me. And I thought we've come way past that. By the way, making accusations that are not true, again, free speech protected under our First Amendment of our Constitution, which is there to protect unpopular speech. If I want to get up here and make a statement, and that statement is inaccurate, lying is one thing, just outright lying, and that's one thing. But if I make a statement up here that's inaccurate, and I don't care to check the facts, this is my First Amendment right to do so. You can't interfere with that. Now, we can talk all day about Councilman Garza's behavior, but let's not forget that behavior that we're addressing started after his First Amendment rights were trampled on. And he was a saint compared to me. You guys have all witnessed, well, most of you have witnessed, with the exception of the city manager who wasn't here, but most of you have witnessed in person the aftermath of an official or anyone for that matter, trampling on my First Amendment right. I'm horrendous. I'll make you nauseous, right? And I'm so horrible. Violent, threatening, by the way, being violent and making threats. You can make legal threats. You can engage in legal harassment. It's not all illegal. But I do all those things right when my rights are trampled on, and that's what happened to him. He was shut down by the mayor. Bam, out of the room. Them two were talking, and the mayor said, that's it. Done. And the penalty for not shutting up was, you're out of here. Now, we want to know, Mayor, and I'm not asking the question, I know you can't answer me. You could. You do anything else you want to do. So why not just answer the question? The question is, what did the city manager whisper to you right before you went out and invited Garza back in? Because I'm curious to know, was inviting Garza back in your decision, or was the city manager smart enough to know that that was a First Amendment violation? And also, I can tell you by his own statement, he wanted everybody there to continue to learn and take advantage of this retreat. He said it out of his own mouth. It's on the video. Please don't ever do that again. First Amendment, respect it.
Thank you. Councilmember Solana, I mean, sorry, Lozano.
Okay. So, on Saturday, for me as a council person, the issue was the fact that we were going off topic and not focusing on what the actual workshop was about. That took away from our workflow, that took away from us being productive and learning. What happened afterwards is what is disturbing or was disturbing to me. I think as city council members, we all are supposed to follow some code of conduct, some code of ethics, rules of decorum, which include something I had mentioned earlier, respect, professionalism, being like you're in a safe spot without having to swear, without finger pointing, without feeling like you are being intimidated, without having to push chairs aside, and stating that you are going to stand out there and shout throughout the whole meeting because nobody can tell a person what to do, and that's true. But when we are as a city council, representing the city of Kirby, when we are in a federal or military property, I think there should be a way that we should act. Out of respect, again, to everybody and to the military unit that allowed us to host our workshop there. And just for clarification, since I was sitting at that meeting, the actual words used by the resident was, "You can bite me." And I think, again, the expectation, although there is freedom of speech, there is also the expectation that, again, we should be respectful of each other. I know we're not gonna agree on everything, and there's been times when I have also voted not the way that the majority has voted. I do make up my own mind, make up my own decisions. I do my homework, and I will continue doing that for the citizens that I represent. But I'm gonna continue to do it in a respectful and professional manner. And that's all I have. Thank you.
First consensus, do we have for Mr. Shaw and then, for Mr. Patrick? Everybody agree to speak?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Shaw, you're up first.
Harold Shaw, 3310 Butterfly Drive, Protector. I work in 20-something years. I have 5 words. I need to stood up. I've got to do that, Bill. I can hear myself working anyway. I hear 5 main words out here in this building today.
Stand by, pause it, please.
First Amendment,
Keep people under control.
I'm gonna start all over. Harold Shaw, 3310 Butterfly Drive. I hear 5 words in this building today. First Amendment, freedom of speech. Let me explain something to y'all. The First Amendment is a whole lot longer than 3 words. You need to read it. Anybody wants to talk about the First Amendment, you better go back home, get on your computer, and read what all the First Amendment really, really deeply says. And if you don't understand it, call people up and answer, because everybody's got an opinion. But go to the book, the legal book, and look up what the First Amendment really says about your freedom of speech. There's stipulations in there that you ought to just bypass it. You're thinking everybody's silly. They don't know what freedom of speech is. Oh yeah, They can just talk whatever they want, whenever they want, like whatever voice they want, whatever language they want. No! It's not that way. And now, I'm done with that part. Let's talk about Chris Gardner's professionalism, or there's a lack of. I heard Christopher Gardner say today, he don't have to listen to none of you, he doesn't answer none of you, even though he's not the mayor, he's just a council member. If he was answering for the city of Kirby residents, I would be embarrassed to be in Kirby. I don't care if you're out here in a park, in your meeting. I don't care if you're in Florida Stand military establishment. It don't make a difference. You're supposed to maintain yourself as a professionalism and represent the community correctly, not look like an idiot and make out of us look like CRAP. That's just wrong. Your behavior was uncalled for. You don't admit it, just like a lot of other things. But you're not representing the city the right way you should be doing it. That's my opinion. And I'm sure I'm not the only one with that opinion. Thank you much for letting me speak.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick.
Thank you again, Council. Mr. Shaw will discuss the First Amendment later. You're slightly off on that. However, I do want to commend Mr. Garza for standing up for his First Amendment rights to say unpopular speech. I want to make a comment to the people who are saying you were wrong, you should have been professional. Wait till you see the video, because it didn't just come out of the blue. Okay? Ms. Ryder, you know I love you, but I am highly upset that you would be so close to the graveyard, trampling on the First Amendment from all those soldiers who fought to keep it in place. That's just my thoughts on it. It's unpopular, some might not like it, and it is what it is. So that's my thoughts on it. Again, Mr. Garza, salute for standing on your First Amendment, and Mayor Ryder, please be careful with it. It's a slippery slope, and it can go either way on the First Amendment. We take that chance when we go out and we record certain incidents. However, just be careful. Please don't trample on nobody's rights. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Patrick. Okay, so, moving on. Councilmember Garza.
City Attorney, can you please take a stand? I'd like to ask you a few questions. Or take the podium, please. So people can speak.
She's heard that before.
Next council meeting, can we just invest in what was that thing you said, Bert?
Yeah, the wireless. Maybe we can
Let's try that.
Let's just everybody share Dr. Rowland's mic.
How about invest in,
Somebody, Dr. Rowland to share.
how about invest in ethics?
Huh?
Invest in ethics.
I have a few questions. First off, when this was first brought to you, as far as it being a retreat, how was it brought to you? I'd like to know that.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, from the city manager.
Okay, and how was it explained to you how everything was going to happen?
I can't recall, I think it was that Friday was gonna be, machine building, and Saturday was gonna be like a presentation of all the, departments,
Okay.
an explanation, and then if I could come present at what time.
Okay, and then when did the conversation get to the point where you started letting them know that it didn't need to be here at City Hall?
I didn't bring that up at all, it didn't have to be at City Hall.
Well, they conferred with the lawyer. It's been stated very many times that you were the one who stated that it didn't have to be at City Hall.
I didn't bring that to, it wasn't my idea.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying when they asked you, when did you confer and allow that to happen?
I didn't allow it to happen. I was asked about having it elsewhere, and I opined about that. That's
Okay, and then you said that would be a good idea. I mean, how did it go?
I don't remember, Councilman. I just said, let's make sure it's posted. That's what was my concern.
It was just to ensure that it was posted. Okay. And the thing is as it is done now, okay? There was a vote that, did kick me out. Is that legal?
So I'm not gonna say whether it's legal or not, because what happened is that I wasn't there, so I don't know what happened. I only know what I was told. I haven't seen anything or heard anything. So
So
I
were you
can't
told there wasn't a vote that kicked me out?
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the mayor did call me to tell me that there was a vote about.
You did let them know that they didn't have to record anything, that they didn't have to do anything of that nature. Was that you as well?
It was that, no, let me clarify, Councilman. I was asked, do we need to record? And I said, no, you need one or the other, minutes or video under the Open Meetings Act, or
Okay, minutes or
recording.
video.
Or minutes or video/recording, and my opinion was, take the minutes, but have a recording just in case. That's what I said.
Okay.
That's what we did too. Just to share with
What'd you do? Because I did ask for the minutes and I wasn't given those minutes.
you.
I mean, I've been making these open records requests and I haven't been getting them. I mean, this is not the first
You
time.
want me to answer or no?
Yeah, go ahead, answer.
So we took minutes and we have the audio recording. If you look at the agenda does not have minutes to adopt that meeting. That will be on the next meeting. And so again, you will have minutes, just like any other thing. But rules of decorum, Councilman, just for your information, or anyone's information, rules of decorum don't matter whether you're in City Hall, if you're at TML, if you're on Fort Sam Houston. Rules of decorum is the rules of decorum. And so we need to understand the difference between the rules that govern you and the building.
Were you
Those are
following
two
the rules
different
before,
things.
Mr. When you were going back and forth with me? Is that how that was
Quit
going?
interrupting the city manager, please, one person at a time, because it's confusing to me. I'm sorry, I can't understand.
Okay.
Please, Mayor, can you make sure that happens, please? Thank you.
Do you want him to answer or you don't want him to answer?
I mean,
I'm just saying,
it's
you're making a
up to
statement.
him.
Actually, no, we're
It's up to
gonna
him.
stop, that's enough.
All I wanted was a line of questioning. I just wanted to understand.
Yes.
I wanted,
For the city
no,
attorney.
not quite. I just wanted to understand the situation because every time that something was asked, very particularly, it was stated that the city manager, or I'm sorry, the city attorney had, when I conferred with the attorney, she was the one who told me I could do this. And it just kept going that way. So I just wanted to ensure that you're on the record that that's what you did.
I'm on
That's all I needed. That's fine. We can move on.
No, go ahead. What were you gonna
I want to just be for the record, I didn't ask permission from the city attorney to have this meeting. If you are at the last meeting, any citizen, any city council member heard me say that the retreat on Friday and Saturday would be within 30 miles of the city of Kirby. I did not put a location, but I acknowledged to everybody that we will be putting a meeting out notification, which we did, which was a notification of a quorum, and that's what we followed. I didn't need permission from the attorney.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. All right, that's an ending, okay. So moving on to 7F, discussion and possible action on initiating an economic development program for the city of Kirby Dollar. Dr. Rowland.
Citizens, council members, I shared with you a program that I created. It's another first time, we talked about it at the economic development workshop, town hall that we had maybe about four weeks ago. I brought it before you during the retreat to get your thoughts and feedback. The city of Kirby currently does not have a pathway plan or short-term goals in reference to economic development in the city of Kirby. And so what I propose is something called the Kirby Dollar. It's an economic development program that provides the education to citizens in the community regarding local spending, business awareness, and revenue from sales tax. The city of Kirby will monitor and manage the pilot program with assistance from the Economic Development Committee. Participating working groups will be required to fill out documents from the city of Kirby. Which is basically track the same activities with the prevention of receipts.
All right, guys, going to step outside and have a break. At this point, all the other agenda items are not contentious. We don't expect any kind of back and forth up until the end of the meeting. The end of the meeting, all the council people get to say what they want to say, and sometimes they mouth off with some stupid shit. That's why I call it a Clowncil meeting, not a council meeting, but a Clowncil meeting. Sometimes at the end, especially with contentious subjects like this, as you just saw.
There's supposed to be an executive session.
Oh, I guess they're going to go into executive session according to Patrick.
Officer and Garza's issue.
Oh yeah, they're going to go into executive session because apparently the chief has filed a complaint against that same councilman Garza. I mean, they're really going after him. He exercises his First Amendment, and let me tell you about what's. Let me give you kind of an I don't know, a backstory to all this. Can I have a smoke? So, Councilman Garza was elected last year.
Yeah.
Last year, I think he's been here over a year as council person.
Yeah.
At the last election, they tried hard to run against him, but the citizens voted him right back in. And amongst other things, he runs on transparency and accountability. He is known to ask the hard questions when it comes to government accountability. When things aren't right, the budget, whenever somebody does something they ain't supposed to be doing, when things don't look on the up and up, he's the first one in there asking the hard questions. And he doesn't stop. Not only does he ask questions, but he pulls records. Let me have a light.
God damn.
He does everything that I'm an accountability person, right? Government accountability. I do it a little different and for different reasons, but in the spirit of accountability, that's what hey, we're live. Yeah, we're live. In the spirit of accountability, while not perfect, he is strong on that. Pulls records, asks questions, and sometimes he engages in speech that people don't like. Sometimes he steps over the boundaries and says things he shouldn't say. And he'll have to be held account for that. You saw me tell him straight up, stop interrupting the city manager. It don't matter to me, one person talking at a time. Otherwise, my audience can't tell who's saying what, right? And then what you're saying gets lost in translation. So fuck that. He needs to shut the fuck up for a minute. But at the same time, they both, the city manager, right, and the council person, they need to be able to talk and keep talking. I'm not okay with the mayor not liking how the conversation's like, letting the conversation happen, and then, but that's it. We ain't talking no more. And she seems to kind of backstep a little bit because she did ask Councilman Garza if he were finished, which indicated to me that she was going to allow them to continue. I think Garza probably, I don't know why he didn't continue talking. Perhaps he made a decision, man, you know what? He looked a little flustered. Maybe he didn't want to talk no more. Who knows? I'll ask him later.
What flavor is that?
But that's the backstory here. There's a lot of contention with this particular council person. In my opinion, it's for that reason, because he asks the hard questions, he addresses things abruptly, he pulls records, he holds kind of no holds barred approach to digging, and he's dug on some people that lived here for so long that got used to not being dug on. Y'all saw that when I first started here. We had the Grants, which, by the way, Michael Grant, the councilman that called me a separatist, God rest his soul, he's got cancer now. I'm not going to be hitting him up because he probably don't have very many days left. He did apologize to me, and so bless him. But then you had Aldrich and all her cronies and what's that guy, Salazar, Mr. Yo Mama, Salazar. Anyway, Garza questioned these folks, and they did not want to be questioned, and they just went on the attack on him. And so we got a new council in. Okay, so the makeup of this council. On the far left-hand side is a fat white dude named Michael Martin, and he is, so in every council you got one side against the other. So we'll just say side number one, side number two. So you got the fat white guy on the left, Martin, and then so he's on side number one.
and then Garza's on side number 1. But everybody else up there, you got the fat Mexican lady, Apodaca. You got the Apodacapus, like a dinosaur. Then you got Sally Hit. We say shit because her email actually was SHITT.
They changed it.
E.
No E.
Oh, no E, just SHITT because her name is Sally Hit, and it's always first initial, last name. So basically, it was shit@kirby.org. Apparently, we gave her a hard time for that, and gave the city a hard time for that. Apparently, they put a J in there, so now it's just shit. No,
SJ Hit.
it's SJ shit or something. I don't know. I have to look at the email, but so I can pronounce it right.
Y'all have a good night.
And then we have
coming out to smoke.
then we have Mayor Grider or Grinder. I'm not sure. The city manager called her Grinder several times in a meeting, and then called her Binder, and then corrected himself to Grinder. But I believe her legal name is Janisha Grider, and that's our mayor. And then to her right, we have. Wait, did I miss somebody? Oh, we got Mr. Joe Wyatt Earp Molina. He's the one with the Wyatt Earp mustache. Then you have Garza, and then you have to the right of him you have Miss Councilman Lasagna. Her name is Lozano, but we coming up with nicknames for them. I'd appreciate your help in establishing nicknames for these council folks. That would help us out greatly. We need to come up with some nicknames for our productions. They're just gonna be funny. Let's see here. So anyway, basically you have Garza and Martin. They're side 1, and then everybody else is the opposing party. So that's your infrastructure on the political opponents. Martin and Garza are political opponents to everybody else there, and so that's what you got going on there. And you got a lot of old issues that they're never going to let go, that manifest themselves from time to time, and it makes for entertainment, really. But as you guys have experienced, this. A lot of these people here, they think that this just happens here in Kirby. They don't realize, like I know, having gone to all kinds of cities, and you guys haven't witnessed that this happens at every city, right? But, yeah. Let me look at some comments here. I don't believe that our mayor has any connections to the app called Grinder. Desert Goat, but it did come out of our city manager's mouth several times, so perhaps he may have a connection. He may be on that app, who knows? I mean, more power to him if he is. He certainly has a right to bang whoever he wants and use apps to do that, as long as it's legal and consensual. I did give a I don't know what you call that when you put your arm up, like the Nazis did to Hitler. I don't know what that's called, but I did salute the mayor in that manner, because frankly, I believe she's acting in some regards the same way Hitler did, or other tyrants in our history have acted in regards to the First Amendment. So I felt it was appropriate. Ask who to step away.
Yeah, he still plans on opening.
They said for y'all to move because y'all too loud. They can stand where they want, man, and talk as loud as they want. Yeah, the dude whose body was trying to eat his bulletproof vest, that's Garza, Harris County Audits, and I was getting tired of him. I support, how he does things, I really like the fact that he digs and he's about transparency and accountability. But anybody can get it, right? Anybody can get it at any time, for me anyway. And I didn't appreciate him over talking other officials there, so had to put a stop to that. The mayor wasn't putting a stop to it, so as they all know, the mayor's in charge, and if the mayor's not going to use her authority to stop bullshit, I will. At the risk of getting kicked out, but I'll do it. They said Dirty Sanchez for Molina. Yeah, Nick the Viking said Dirty Sanchez for the mustache man. That sounds a little racist though. Why does it have to be Sanchez?
Dirty Earp.
Could be Dirty Miller.
Miller and Miller.
Huh?
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have another smoke, and then I'm gonna talk to some folks, and then I'm gonna put this camera back up and continue to live stream the rest of the meeting. It's probably gonna be boring up until the end. Now, if you if you want to check back later and see if I'm still live streaming, if for some reason I'm not live streaming, if we get if we hear a call that we need to go to regarding the police, we're going to go to that. But in case I'm not live streaming at that time, then you guys can go to the city of Kirby. You can go to the city of Kirby, and they are live streaming these meetings. There will be a video coming out of the. I'm going to be doing commentary on the Saturday's incident. I'll be up on the screen doing commentary. There's going to be another video coming out regarding the senior center debacle, where the council just arbitrarily and all of a sudden took over and kicked off all of the people on the senior citizen center board and went in there and took it over. And this was about a year after the director of the senior center was arrested and charged with stealing money, a lot of money from them. And her charges are still pending. From what I understand, sources say that she's going to end up taking a plea deal and throwing some other people under the bus or turning state's witness on them. And we kind of have an idea who they might be, but she most likely is going to take a plea deal and testify against those folks, because there was more than one person stealing at the senior citizen center.
You got your cards on you that I had put in?
Yeah, right.
Can you give her one? She's wondering about the
so
for the senior.
There was more than one
special meeting or whatever.
So there was more than one person stealing from the senior citizens there. We kind of have an idea who they were. They were not charged, but she most likely is going to try to save her own ass and start testifying against them. So stay tuned for that. But there was a meeting here at the council, at the Clowncil. The Clowncil had a meeting when they took over the senior citizen board and kicked everybody off just arbitrarily for no reason. And that was quite a show. So I'll be up in the corner dissecting that. I got my wig, my white wig, and my judge's uniform and my gavel, so look out for that. Thank you, Harris County Audits, for that. I appreciate you. Molina should be Yosemite Sam, Ruby Rodriguez says. Yosemite Sam. Not Yosemite Sanchez. Damn. I said that. They said Garza was eating up his bulletproof vest. Yeah, that Councilman Garza, he does wear a bulletproof vest to the meetings. That after I showed, and you guys can go back and look at my videos where I showed council that you can, in fact, I demonstrated that you can, in fact, bring a handgun into the council meeting. I have a device that is licensed by Glock.
No, it's just a break.
Oh, just a break.
It's completely metal. It has a slide that slides back. It's CO2 operated. It shoots plastic 6mm pellets. and they won't even hurt you if you get shot with them. But when you shoot, the slide racks back and goes forward and reloads it. But I brought that into a council meeting, went through security, went through the metal detectors, brought that in to demonstrate that there's signs that they have out here prohibiting handguns from coming in are useless. They ask their police officers to try to stop guns from coming in, which in turn they're asking their police officers to do the impossible. I demonstrated that, and since then Councilman Garza has been wearing a bulletproof vest to the council meetings.
Speak of the devil.
Garza did? Yeah. You get kicked out again?
No.
So Councilman Garza just came up here. Are you on? What are you on break or?
Yeah, it's like a 10-minute.
Y'all on break?
Yeah, we got 7 hours.
10 minutes.
I needed some air. It's hot out here too.
You up for questions on camera? Sure.
It's live.
Sure. We got Councilman Garza's out here. We're on the council's on a 10-minute break. Let me let's go. Well, I'll go there, but I need to be able to get your. Oh yeah, that's good. That's good.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me get comfortable here. You know what? That light is no good. Can you go over here? Right there. Right there. Perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. All right. So this Councilman Garza, he was the one that was kicked out of the meeting on Saturday, and so Garza, I've talked to the police chief. I've talked to the person at the golf course, and from the police chief's version of the events differ from your version of the events. We know that there was no cameras there. The city didn't provide any cameras to record the meeting. We know that you had brought a camera to the meeting, your own personal camera, to record and document the meeting. So I think I spoke and I mentioned that you and the city manager were involved in what is protected speech with each other back and forth. I mean, why did they kick you out? Why did they kick you out?
I don't have a distinct answer for why I got kicked out, to be honest with you. Realistically, we were talking back and forth, then immediately Lozano jumped in to try to say that she felt this way. But all I was doing particularly was trying to present the facts. I was trying to say, hey, listen, this is what we tried to do. This is how it was. And he kept just saying, the facts are in the paperwork. The facts are in the paperwork. And I was like, actually, the facts are more in the videos and the things that we had to take in order for you to see that type of stuff. And I feel like that's a lot of what's happening here. I feel like a lot of what's happening here is this idea of like, well, let's tell you the story as it pertains to me. But I'm not about that. I mean, there's video evidence because I brought the video camera.
Is it an accurate assessment when I state that you and the city manager were both engaged in conversation?
Yeah.
And then out of the blue, Mayor Grider decided to end that conversation?
That is correct.
All right.
I mean, that did happen.
And it appears you wanted to continue that conversation, and then she said, she warned you, and you're out of here.
I just wanted to present my closing statement. That was truly all it ever was. And when that came up, it became something like, next thing, you're out of here. And it was just like immediately, I'm like, wait a minute, I don't think we're supposed to be taking votes. This was not considered a meeting at all. And I mean, now, there's minutes and there's recordings and all this stuff. But I got to tell you, I asked for all this stuff in open records, and I had yet to receive it. Yes, they have their 10 days and they can do all that stuff. But I mean, that's where I'm at.
So after you were kicked out, based on what I've talked to people, and from what I understand, after you were kicked out of the meeting, Mayor Grider goes back outside and asks you or tells you can come back in.
According to the video,
is that true?
That is true. What happened was, according to the video,
why didn't you go back in at that point?
At that point, I was already told that the cops would be called on me. and I was already, that the MPs would be called on me, that it was federal property. I was told by the mayor it was federal property, and that you won't do this kind of stuff on federal property. I mean, it was already a hostile environment, so there was no reason for me to actually enter back into it, because I had already been voted by the rest of city council.
And-
The rest of them had already voted to get me out of there. There was, like, if it was a meeting, that was it. There, you know, they vote, it's done.
And I will confirm to you, after speaking with the person in charge of the golfing center, he thought I was on his side. I made it appear to him that I was on his side and totally anti-you. So he talked to me for about 45 minutes. He did confirm that he did call the military police. And during the course of our conversation, which I'll end up producing this conversation soon, I recorded it. He indicated to me that he was disappointed that when the MPs showed up, you were already gone. Like he wanted to see you get arrested. So
I'm not surprised at that.
you know, I don't blame you for you know, I think I told you that you should have went back in there and partook. But once learning that somebody called the military police on you, I don't blame you for leaving.
And
For
if
your own safety.
Absolutely. And if you watch the video, it's clear when they're calling the MPs on there. So you watch the video, and I mean, you can hear them calling the MPs stating, "I will not leave the premises," which was completely untrue. I was already on the way out. Councilman Martin came back out to tell me that I needed to grab my equipment, and I was like, hold on a minute, that equipment needs to stay there because it's the only recording of this meeting, the only video recording of this meeting. And so when I walked back in to tell somebody to take control of my camera, immediately, they started calling the MPs to ensure that I was going to be arrested.
One last thing. You've seen the video, so you're probably aware that when you went outside, the mayor turns around, sees your camera, which was in the back of the room, not near anyone, and says your camera needs to go, and then orders the police chief to take your camera and do something with it. Now, me and my viewers know the mayor has no authority over your property. The police chief has no authority to dispossess you of that property or seize that property. But on the video, I'm sure you saw the police chief immediately went and seized your property to do what I don't know. She may say it was to give it back to you, to secure it, to take care of it. But what I want to ask you is, did you give the mayor or the police chief any authority, or did you ask them to take care of your personal property? Yes or no?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, if you watch,
you're aware of what happened.
yes, I am.
regarding that.
As if you watch the video, clearly they face the video, towards me, and the first thing I do when I walk into frame is say that camera needs to be in there. This meeting needs to be recorded. It's the very first thing I say, and all I do is stick my head in the window, ask somebody who's in there to take possession of the camera. I say, make it your camera for today, and ask that they give it back to me when they were done, and then I left. But I'm telling you, during that time, even asking me back, the very first thing that the shop owner does is tries to call the MPs on me and kind of, escalate this as much as
And
possible.
after the mayor ordered your camera seized and the police chief seized it, it was taken outside, and then it ended up back in the meeting, because when I showed up to the meeting, it was in the back filming. Can you tell us how that occurred?
Yeah, like I said, I poked my head in and just asked that they take possession of my camera. There was a resident in there. I just asked that they take possession of my camera and bring it with them, and then bring it back to me once it was done.
So you had a resident from Kirby take over possession of your camera,
correct.
so he could continue to film this
That's
meeting.
correct. Because like I said,
Yeah.
I was like, this is a public meeting. It needs to be filmed. That's how it went down. So.
And it should have been filmed, and I think we all agree on that.
Yes.
I'm going to let you get back to your
I
break,
appreciate
man.
it. I think our meetings are...
Let you get back to your break. Thank you.
appreciate
Thank you for talking to everybody.
Yes.
So that was Councilman Garza, the one that was kicked out on Saturday. A lot to be investigated here regarding this incident. A lot to be said. Stay tuned. I'm going to go set this camera back up on the meeting. And like I said, it's probably going to be boring up until the very end, where all the council people get to say what they want to say. And then the fireworks might start again. So I'm going to go through security here. Hang tight, guys. I gotta go through security. You ever come down?
One, please. Come right here.
Yeah.
Meg.
Just my wallet.
Meg's little secret. Big Garza.
You're probably catching the floor.
Check his pockets again. I was just messing with you. Scoot back from this table. That's what it is.
Something going off right there?
Crotch is vibrating.
That's balls. No, seriously, no. There's nothing in there. There's nothing in there. I swear to
It's
God.
vibrating.
I swear, I got a zipper probably. I'm sure.
It's probably a zipper.
Is it a metal zipper? Yeah. I swear to God.
Go ahead.
No, you set it off, he's gotta wait. All right. So we'll run your waist here. Give a
Where's all
bell.
your batteries?
Set it off earlier.
It didn't know.
Well, it did it this
Oh,
time.
you're like, go ahead.
Yeah. If he has a good hair, let me know so I can put gloves on before I go grab it.
That's all I'm saying. I don't want to be grabbing a gun if you have it there.
No.
I was not gonna reach in there and touch it.
The main thing to consider if you pat down my crotch area is the supervisor needs to be involved to make sure that afterwards she remembers her husband's name. She might forget.
I need to have a physical exam afterwards, you said?
After touching you there, you might be like, I'm married? Oh yeah, that's right, I'm married. All right, back in the meeting. They still on break. They are still on break.
If you could just move this back a little bit.
Huh?
The wires.
Okay. Is that cool? Like 30 something percent.
Are you ready? Audio and everything, okay. Okay, we're coming back, it's 9:11 PM. Okay. Get started. We have discussion and possible, we have discussed, so item 7G, discussion, possible action, an update on the back-to-school pool party August 12th, 2023 from 12 to 4 p.m. at the Kirby pool. Okay, do you want to go ahead and, or you?
So, citizens, council members, as you know, the city council approved a citywide back-to-school pool party. It's going to be August 12th, 2023, from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. It's free entry for all. Food will be served by J-Rod Barbecue. It's going to be at the Kirby City Pool at 3211 Charles Conrad Drive, Kirby, Texas, 78219. We want to thank the Kirby Volunteer Fire Department and the Kirby Crime Control Committee for the donations. 300 backpacks and supply giveaway, again, this Saturday at 12, from this Saturday, the 12th, from 12 to 4 p.m. Thank you. No action needed. It was just an update as far as making sure everybody knew what was coming up, and if you had any questions or concerns, this would be the time.
Yes, and that is, the fire department and the crowd patrol, they're funding it all, they're funding the meals and everything.
No.
Who's paying for the meals?
So J-Rod's Barbecue, so you know how we get, the council gets their 300 stipend or whatever? I didn't use mine at all, so I used mine for the food.
Okay, that's not gonna be enough, I mean, I could get one too.
No, so we have, so it's, I'm gonna tell you what we have, so you can tell me if that's not enough food. We have 150 sausage wraps, we're gonna have 100 hot dogs, we're gonna have chips, we have soda, juice, lemonade, water, cookies, snow cones, and popcorn. I mean, if you think, I don't know, what do y'all think? Do y'all think we need more sausage wraps or hot dogs? What do you normally?
My understanding, there was gonna be 200 plates.
Right, that was more expensive. So, right, so we went down to sausage wraps and chips and cut costs. So, do y'all think, just let me know, do you think we need more food?
I don't think so.
Are you sure? So when Councilmember, when y'all did the last thing, how many hot dogs did y'all have?
I think we bought a box of 500. Oh, not exactly sure. And then it wasn't only that, we bought, 12 pizzas, and we had everything go. I mean, you gotta understand that it's not just the kids that are showing up, it's parents and it's everybody, so, we also had, everybody was there, the people who were volunteering and, the cops and just, we tried to make it to where it was all inclusive. So, we tried to get as much as we could. That's kind of how it went down. So, but still, I was under the thing where the guys were, it wasn't bad to run out. There were, Ms. Walzik during that time was very adamant that she wanted to ensure that everybody got something. And for the most part, we did. She was very good at planning all this stuff. It was a lot of food. I think this was
Well, I don't know, he just said 500 hot dogs, that's a whole different ballgame. That's a lot of, so here,
Yeah, but the kids are gonna be plenty swimming.
yeah, but like you said, parents, grandparents, they're not gonna be, look, I might want a sausage wrap.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be swimming.
But like I said, I think you should give the impression on this, we have 300 sausage wraps, they're gone, so get that room, Just work out all that way. Did you by chance get the DJ?
Yes, DJ's also, that's done too.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess we can, okay, so you know what we'll do, because you're right, you don't wanna have a party and run out of food, that's not a party, right? So, we'll do 12, we can do, what, you can do 12 pizzas, just in case?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do 12 pizzas just in case, and then, hot dogs are always not expensive, right? So we can do, let's do 12 pizzas and 100 hot dogs, more. You think that should cut it, right? Okay, so we'll do that. All right. So, Dr. Rowland, can you, one moment, please. Okay, so, Dr. Rowland, so 12 pizzas for Saturday, and then we're gonna add 100 hot dogs. The reason I'm telling you, so you remind me, because I
Gotcha.
remember, yeah.
So you'll make sure the same person's gonna cook them?
Yes, oh yeah, they're gonna do it. I'm volunteering them to keep it.
Got it.
They're gonna cook those too, okay. Okay, I'm sorry. We will allow, Ms. Gomez to speak. Everybody's okay with that? Okay. I'm sorry.
We have, the senior center has probably a good 100 hot dogs that we bought for the anniversary. We can donate those for this cause. I also like to vote sausage wrap for the adults and hot dogs for the kids. But we have the hot dogs, you just need to get the buns. So
You have 100
yeah,
hot dogs?
at least 100.
We may have more.
Yeah, they're all beef hot dogs, so.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have DJ, we have food, no, we don't have, I'm not in the, I don't know the pool toys situation or whatever, is that stuff left over from last time, how does that work? Or we're just not gonna worry about that, it's
Well,
like a
yeah.
party, you know?
Yeah, I turned all that stuff in, so,
Okay.
you know, we do have it here in the city, don't worry.
Okay, Chief Cardona, the pools, toys and all that stuff from the last time, we still have that stuff? Okay, so we just wanna make sure that that's there on Saturday. Okay. All right, anything else on this function? Okay, all right, moving on. Okay, we're moving to 7H, discussion and appropriate action to consider settling the date, time, and location for a public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2023, 2024 budget. City manager?
Council members, last meeting, I provided to you the 2024 budget preparation schedule. We asked that you look at it and bring suggestions on additional days that you wanted to be put on here for budget meetings. We have, well, in this, yeah, we're gonna discuss several things. The budget and tax adoption timeline. The goal is tonight to get a date and time for proposed budget meetings. The goal is to set the proposed voter the rate. And so on this particular agenda item, it is just to talk about setting budget meetings, a date and time for the public to be noticed, so public notice. So you all have, so the schedule that you have, I provided another copy. It says the budget preparation schedule. You all know we have to adopt the rate by certain dates. And so the last meeting we have, the final drop dead date is September 28th, which is our second meeting in September. We also have September 14th, which is our first meeting in September. And then we have August 24th, which is our predetermined already meetings. There's an opportunity for us to have special call meetings or budget workshops, whatever you all decide as far as the title, that can happen in between those days. And so at this agenda item is just is we're meeting for a date and time and location, so we can put notice in the paper. The SB2 has changed. There's a state was passed in reference to transparency around tax rates, around budgets, around what we have to post, how far in advance we have to post. You all will be able to also, citizens who are watching at home or just listening, you will have to be able to look at the tax rate within 2 clicks of coming on the city's website. And so once we adopt the dates for the public hearing, you'll start to see what our tax rate is. You'll start to have that information. We got the information from Bear County's appraisal district. And then I actually plan to go through that with you all today. And so before I get ahead of myself talking about the tax rate, you all have several documents before you that we're gonna go through, just to make sure that we're kind of all on the same page in reference to what we need to do today, and then what we need to, again, set and adopt those dates, times, and locations for this current agenda item. Is everybody clear on what we're trying to accomplish? And then it'll move into, being able to have, everyone giving their feedback.
So I know, so September 14th is, so the adoption of the September 14th. So let's start from the beginning. August 24th, we can have special budget, or I don't know, I guess we're gonna be careful with our wording, budget workshop / I don't know, special meeting.
Yes.
On the 24th, we can have one August 24th?
Yes, but you need to be specific on the time. So if you're gonna put it during your city council meeting, or you're gonna have it earlier before, so you would say 5:30 or 6 o'clock. So we would post 2 separate agendas, because we have to put this in the difference between a regular meeting, we have to put this in the newspaper. Meaning, we have to have time to post in the newspaper. So if you're following the budget preparations, like the mayor was saying, like we're gonna discuss the tax rate with city council tonight. We're gonna submit to the newspaper on Monday for a public hearing budget newspaper dates, which give people appropriate enough time to say, hey, here is where you can come out and voice your opinion on the proposed rates and the budget.
Okay. Yes, give me one moment. Just one moment. Okay. So what I'm saying is, so September 14th, there's a reason why you have this date.
Yes.
Okay, so that date, no matter what, that date is gonna be for the public hearing, for both, agenda items H and I. So I just wanna make sure that's clear, everybody, September 14th, that's a date that no matter what, we will be having, we just need to set a time for, on the 14th, that would have to be,
September 14th is the day that we're setting. We're gonna tell the public that one of the days, we're gonna tell the public that we wanna meet. It's the 14th. That's 30 days, that gives us a month from today. Our drop dead date as far as when we have to adopt it, so you have a public hearing. You can have more than one hearing, you just gotta notice it. And so our drop dead deadline date is September 28th, which is the last meeting. We don't have to vote on it at the last meeting. We can do it on the 14th, but that gives us a cushion if y'all want to have an additional meeting from the 14th to the 28th. We just need a notice to the public.
I think that August 24th, that we should have, if you're gonna have everything ready, August 24th before the council meeting, since we know council meeting days, anyways, everybody's gonna be here. I think that we should have a meeting, I don't know, probably like 5:30 to 7, or 6 to 7 or something like that for the 24th. And then obviously we have the 14th, do the same thing. But I think there should be another one somewhere in between on September also, before the 28th. I don't think we should wait to the last minute, the deadline. Councilman Robertson?
Yeah, so what I wanted to get at or whatever was relatively, obviously this is a new process, right, for all of us. Relatively before, we've done where we had these, what do they call the workshops? We've had budget workshops, and we've received lists from people to ask what they would like to see for the budget. And I honestly would like to see that we have as many of these prior to prior to actually adopting a budget as much as we can. Be not only to give citizen input, but also to give council input as to the things that we need to see our money go towards. So right now we're talking about just having a single budget workshop, is that correct? No. We're talking about the 24th, having one, and then on the 14th, the public hearing, and that's considered another workshop. We're not gonna have anything, you were talking about having something else, right?
Yes, I would like to have one, to be honest, if everybody can do it, because I think a Saturday we have a longer workshop.
Yeah.
Like maybe September 9th, if everybody agrees that day.
Yeah, I would definitely like to have something with a little more, like I say, back and forth with the community, so that they can really put their ideas out there as to what, what we should budget for. I mean, obviously, we all have an idea of what we need to budget for, but I think that giving the community as much opportunity to tell us what they think they need, I think that would be what's best for us. So we can put it out there, because again, like, other people have things to do as well, and sometimes they can make it, sometimes they can't. So, yeah, we could have something else in between to give extra time for people to show up. I would be for it.
So are those dates okay? October 20, I said October.
Yeah. September 9th.
Yeah.
September 14th, we'll have the public hearing.
Yeah.
But the September,
public hearing, that's not that long.
so, yeah, no, it's not, but what I'm saying is during the September 9th meeting, we're talking about this being a workshop, correct?
Yeah, that could be it.
And yeah, we're basically, again, we could get some input.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure that that's something at the top of the list.
Yes, because the workshop, you don't have citizen input on the workshops?
You can, but, so the goal is, so using this sheet, we ask city council to provide additional dates if needed. We're saying we're gonna have a discussion on the 24th, we're gonna have a discussion on the 14th, and you all select an additional date. What I also am wanting us to also understand is you pick the weekend, which is, again, staff and also the consultant, people who are, so we all are picking a date for you all and not a date to make sure you have all the people. Now, if y'all just want to have a conversation amongst just us, then that's different. Does that make sense? And so, you have all those dates, but again, all we got to do is notice it. So it is a workshop. It'd be a budget workshop. It would be, what is required is the public hearing. That's what we have to put it in the newspaper. To have a budget workshop, all we have to do is have, say, a possible form budget workshop and post it on the door and the website.
Yeah, so my idea on this thing is possibly on the 24th, perhaps we can get the staff to come in, tell us, what they believe we need, right? Because that's the day before the council meeting, correct?
So yes, but we're not doing staff come in and tell you.
Okay, well then how will we know?
We already, so we did that at the retreat. So can we give him the,
Yeah, you're gonna get all the, so at the retreat, yes, so all y'all will get the slides and all the information. That was the whole point of having the people from the departments coming to speak to you all. Talk to you about how many officers there, talking about what they do. And so, in the budget, you will also get the numbers and everything. So I'll make sure that all council members get all of the slides and then all the numbers needed for those departments.
Okay.
So when, yeah.
So what all I'm saying is by the 24th, we should have a general idea about the staff and what they're looking for as far as that. Okay, and then I'm saying September 9th, right? Then we have it more geared towards community where they can, discuss with us things they think that is necessary. Is that kind of what I'm hearing with you?
I mean, it'll be a meeting,
Yeah.
so they can, raise their hand like they're on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
If there's something they want to add,
Of course, and that's exactly what I'm saying.
Are we looking at on the 9th?
And then the 9th was a Saturday,
Yes,
correct?
that's a Saturday.
Yeah, I think we should have one that's kind of like an off day of time, like, what do you think, like, 11 or 12 or 6? I mean, what do you guys consider? Some in the morning, some in the evening?
You have to be 11? Oh,
The
no,
ninth.
well, I don't have to change
The
the date.
ninth is a Saturday.
Okay, so we need you here, because,
On Friday, is it?
okay, I guess so.
Oh, yeah, the other thing on Friday.
It doesn't have to be the evening, though.
That's okay.
Okay. Is, the 8th okay with everyone? Well, Dr. Romer, are you gonna be here on the 8th? If that's a Friday, that's the day before. Because we have the 24th, the 14th, and we put the day in there. We can't do the 7th because that's the TNL regional meeting is the 7th. So. I mean, we'll look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, you know. Just, do y'all want to? I mean, I don't know who was going to that region meeting, so, I mean, if y'all wanna not go to the region meeting and do the 7th, we can do that too, or?
I'd rather work on 7th than 8th. But that's just my opinion.
Okay.
Can I get you, is that, there's not a council meeting on the date, correct?
No.
Okay, so it's like an opposite Thursday?
Right.
And then, yeah, and then, like you're saying, it would have to be in the afternoon, so like 7 or 6 or something.
Let's do, well, if we're gonna do it, like, what are you gonna say? Go ahead.
No, I just want to ask about a different date here.
What day? Go ahead.
No, on the 14th, we just submitted notice, we're not having a meeting, right?
Well, on the 14th, so the 14th, when we have the hearing, I just wanna make this clear, like, so, on the 14th, the hearing, because the hearing never takes that long, the hearing less than 30 minutes, right, that's done. So my thing is, why can't we utilize the rest of that time for, a budget
Discussion.
Well, that's what, this is the reason I brought it up.
Okay.
You got a meeting at the senior center on 14th.
No, it's on that Monday.
On 14th is Monday.
That's next Monday.
No, so you're saying there is, so we're not saying having August, so September 14th is the next meeting.
Okay, no, I was asking about August 14th. It just says submit notice of public hearing.
Yeah, that's to the newspaper.
Right.
So that gives us, we don't have to have a meeting on that day. That's just to remind the interim city secretary that she needs to submit notice by a deadline for us to be able to have a meeting, for that August 24th.
Yeah, that's all.
So yes, but the goal is to, if, I said we have 3 meetings. We have we have August 24th, we have September 14th, and we have September 28th. You also have the ability to say, we're gonna have a public hearing at 6 p.m. and you can have your budget meeting at the same time. That is the same process. The difference is, a budget workshop meeting is not, you can hear people, but it is for you all. A public hearing is for you to hear from the public. And so you say, hey, does anybody want to have anything they want to say? And so people can come and talk. Now, you can talk amongst yourselves, but the public hearing is for the public. The budget workshop meetings, all council meetings are for council.
Councilmember Garza.
I would just like to put it out, to give the people as much opportunity to come out and speak as much as possible. Whether, I understand what you're saying, yes, that is, the one time, but what happens if somebody's busy for the public hearing? I would like to say, hey, we gave you a few opportunities and, we want to hear from you guys, we want to know what you guys want in the budget. Like, that's basically how I'm looking at it. I'm not looking at it from the perspective of, we're just gonna bypass. I'm just saying, I realize the efficiency of that may not be, kosher and quick, but I think that it would be best utilized for our citizens. So I think, again, we should pick another date. Like, whether September 9th or 8th or 7th or whatever.
Okay, so let's who the 7th?
No, Thursday.
That's a Thursday.
Okay.
So is 7th okay? Everybody, okay, all right, so what are the dates of September 7th?
September 7th.
And the time, do we want to do 5:30 or 6?
I like 6.
6. All right, 6. Okay, all right, 6. And that would be obviously, since that's well, then it'd be 6 to what? Because that's,
I mean, yeah,
probably 6 to 9.
I would like to see till it ends, but I mean, I don't think it take 7 hours. I mean, we usually do these budget meetings or whatever.
We don't have it like an actual.
So like 10 maybe, or? Is that too?
It ain't gonna take that long.
But
I don't think it will, that's why I'm saying, I just want to give it an opportunity so people have every opportunity to speak, that's all.
Okay, so I'm just saying, if we don't have actual, agenda items to go down the list, then that can run into just.
Is it possible to make agenda items for budgeting for certain, what's it called, like for the parts of the, because there's, like in the budget, there's police, there's fire, and there's,
let's say roads and there's water, you know, I mean, maybe we could go down the list and say, okay, water, you know, this is what we all think, does anybody have anything, you know, and then we just put that as agenda items, is that possible, or?
I mean, I see what you're saying, I mean, that's a good idea. I just don't want when it happens to, for instance, we go back and like, you know what, maybe we need to cut from fire and have to go back.
Yeah, I get it.
That's my thing. Oh, let's just do free for all, okay, 6 to 9.
That's fine.
All right, 3 hours, we should have it by then.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think so.
6 to 9.
Okay.
Yeah, right. All right, so August 24th, okay, wait a minute. So we already, okay, September 7th, but on August 24th, that is gonna be what, 6 p.m. to 6 to 7?
Yeah, because we're for the council meeting, correct?
Right before, okay, 6 to 7 on the 24th. Okay, and then September 14th, since you said, Dr. Roll, we can do everything together, and that's actually a council meeting. So we want to do again 6 to 7.
What's that date?
September 14th. 6 to 7. And then on September 28th, do we need to, that's the last day you said, right? We can do it again
Yeah, we
anyway.
need to, yeah, so, the goal is to have it adopted by the 28th or before.
So do we need to have another one between the 14th and the 28th?
No, you already have, you have that, you have the 7th, the 24th, and the 14th. Or the 24th of August, September 7th, September 14th, and then we also have September 28th if needed to be.
So let's just for everybody put on their calendar for the 28th, 6 to 7, just in case, everybody's aware, in case we need to, September 28th. All right, so for 7, 8 for the agenda item, I'm gonna write it here, 6 to 7. 7 p.m. Oh, let's just do 6 p.m. starting time. So on here, do you want when they make the motion, you want it 6 to 7 or just put 6?
You put the time.
Okay,
Because
6
then
to
we're
7.
gonna, that's for the time we put in the newspaper, in the posting on the newspaper.
Okay, so for the first one, whoever wants to make the motion, I have where you can read it, who wants to do it?
So in this process, we're gonna hold the absolute deadline for public hearing notice, in the newspaper September 4th. The absolute deadline to publish the tax rate hearing notice in the, newspaper and on the website is September 7th. We're gonna hold it. We're gonna hold a public hearing for budget and adopt the budget. The city secretary must record a roll call vote. No separation or ratification vote required. Council must take a separate ratification vote to adopt any budget that will raise property tax revenue. That will be, the goal was to have it on the 14th. Then we hold a public hearing to adopt the tax rate. We vote on the ordinance setting the tax rate. Must be a record vote and must be approved by at least 60% of the city council members. And so the motions that you have on the floor before you, you'll read that and you'll put the times. If we're gonna stick with trying to get this for the 14th, you'll put the 14th in that time.
Okay.
And so that's for the newspaper. The additional dates you all noticed are budget workshops. There's a difference. Public notice is the official notice to all the citizens, which are gonna happen 30 days from now, which is gonna go in the newspaper. Those other meetings are gonna be budget workshops, which again, all we have to do is notice by putting it on the door and on the website. So in this motion, you'll just say the September, the date and the time. And then it should be, whether it be at 6 o'clock or whatever, you all know.
Councilmember Garza?
Can we let Jack Miller speak, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot already.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Jack?
Every time.
I'm afraid somebody may not be able to speak.
So I heard the word free, what caused me to want to really get it done. I heard the word free-for-all used, and we just spent quite a bit of time talking about a situation at a meeting where it was free-for-all. So I would strongly encourage there not to be any kind of free-for-all in any of these things here. There needs to be infrastructure, there needs to be expectations, and everybody needs to get a fair shake to talk about their departments and all that good stuff that y'all were talking about. But I would definitely encourage you guys to steer away as much as possible from any kind of free-for-all. And maybe I heard that out of context, and if I did, then so be it. And then I am happy that we are moving forward to budget stuff. Because currently, I noticed one of our police officers does not have a body cam right now. And I asked that police officer, where is your body cam? And it was explained to me that they have broken and there is no money to replace it. So we have an officer running around without a body cam. That's a serious officer safety issue. It's a serious liability issue for the city and for everybody that's around that officer when they're taking any kind of official action. So I would encourage you guys to include that in your budget stuff, but more so some money to write a check and buy a camera. Mine here, it's almost better than the accidents or the body cams police have. It's 128 gigabytes. It runs 14 hours straight before the battery dies. It never runs out of memory. It's password accessible. It's encrypted. It has infrared. So anyway, let's get all police officers body cams. If not now, immediately, especially when the budget thing comes up. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to clarify, when I said free-for-all, I'm not saying just do whatever you want to do in here. Like, we're not doing that. We're going to be talking about budget stuff. That's what we're going to be doing. And go ahead, Councilmember Garza.
The pastor also would state.
Everybody's okay with that? Yes, okay.
I just wanted to remind everybody that I've heard things like there was a problem at the last get-together, and something was said that also, I don't report to anybody. Each one of you reports to the mayor, and you also report the word on high. And the reason I say that is because God puts each one of you in the place that you're in and gives you a leader, such as the mayor, or in my case, it's a general officer in the military. And so we can't say that kind of thing because all that you say is recorded in heaven and you'll see the report again another day. And so we have to be careful with how we say things to each other, even though we're trying to get a point across, because it's, it's that important. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, and the motion.
Mayor, I move to set the public hearing for the adoption of the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget to be held at City Hall on September 14th, 2023 at 6 to 7 p.m. and authorize the city manager to proceed with publishing and posting required budget adoption notices.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the table, first by Mayor Pro Tem Apodaca, second by Councilor Martin, to move to set the public hearing for the adoption of the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget to be held at City Hall on September 14th, 2023 at 6 to 7 p.m. and authorize the city manager to proceed with publishing and posting required budget adoption notices. City Secretary, please call roll.
Mayor Pro Tem Apodaca?
Yes.
Councilmember Garza?
Yes.
Councilmember Dick?
Yes.
Councilmember Lozano?
Yes.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
Councilmember Molina,
Yes.
Mayor Gray?
Yes. Okay, motion passes. And we, yes.
Can we go over the dates just one more time?
Oh, sure. What were you?
I wrote it down for you.
We have August 24th, 6 to 7 p.m. September 7th, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. September 14th, 6 to 7 p.m. September 28th, 6 to 7 p.m. And that September 28th, we'll let you know if that's needed or not, but just keep that on your calendar just in case. Okay, moving on to 7I, discussion and appropriate action to consider setting proposed tax rate and a date, time, and location for a public hearing on the 2023 tax rate. City manager.
Good evening, citizens. Good evening to the council members. This is something we briefly shared in our conversation. Before you, I presented the results on the screen for the citizens, and I have before you a presentation. We have several ways that this is broken down, and I wanted just to provide so the people at home can understand where we're at, and then we're going to go through how we got these rates. As you know, the current FY 2022 to 2023 tax rate is 0.6141. That is the current rate that citizens are paying at this particular point in time per so per $100 value. So you have three rates that are required to be presented and shown to City Council and the citizens. You have FYI 2023-24, no new revenue rate, which is the lowest rate you could go, but that's saying that you're not going to do anything different with what you're doing now. That is the no new revenue rate. That is 0.577500. You have the FY 2023-24 voter approval rate. That's 0.591244. And then you have the de minimis rate, FY 2023-24, de minimis rate 0.664551. SB2 has changed and impacted what we must show as far as transparency in reference to taxes, and also whether it be put it in the paper and on the website. The de minimis rate is a rate that is the rate that if you go, that's a rate that it would trigger an election. So if we do anything over the voter approval rate, would trigger an election by the citizens of this community. And so I'm going to go through the presentation, talking to you how we got these numbers, and then give you my recommendation on the taxing rate, which is something that you all will need to adopt. The recommendation is to go with the voter approval rate, which is the rate
Yeah, you were absolutely right. Yeah, you were right. Guys, we're gonna. I'm gonna shut this off. I only got about 6% left on my phone. If you want to catch the ending of this council meeting, we do have static cameras in there recording. We'll get that out if there's any shenanigans. But they do have. If you go to City of Kirby, Kirby, City of Kirby, they're live streaming all this. So, all right, thank you guys for watching. Be safe and be free.